Now, today CNBC Africa is focusing on the luxury goods market across the continent, which is expected to become a luxury goods and fashion powerhouse as international good companies start eyeing new consumer spaces. We've looked at luxury cars, exotic travel destinations, and even diamond jewelry. Joining me now for a look at the luxury leather market is Eileen Webster. She's executive of Via La Moda, and we're also joined by Richard Schaefer, Director and Sales Manager at Cape Cobra Leathercraft. Thank you so much for making the time, Richard, and Eileen, for joining us. Of course, I'm completely distracted by these beautiful bags on the table. And perhaps let me just start off with you, Eileen, and ask you, who's affording these bags? Who's your clientele? And where's the biggest traction coming from?
Okay, firstly, thank you very much for having me on your show. This is a niche market. It's a very knowledgeable clientele that purchases, and I'm going to talk particularly in ostrich over here. It's in its rarity that, for that on its own, it's exclusive. The skins are very scarce and they're sought after. Yeah, that's really what it is. So,
can I be forward and ask what some of these items are retailing at? I mean, if we pick up this amazing orange colored bag, if we can just grab that one for me, because especially because it matches my outfit for today.
Yes, it does.
You know, how much would one of these retail for?
This would retail in the region of about 23,000. And if you understand what goes into something like this, the skin alone, it's uniquely done with our master craftsmen. To give you a bit of background into our company, it's just very quickly. The company was founded 1990 by two Austrian gentlemen. One is a master craftsman, and he comes from a dynasty of master craftsmanship. His name is Hans-Peter Winkelmeyer. The other gentleman is an interior architectural background with an absolute passion for luxury. So yes, they founded the company. Right. We have a world-class showroom to go with it, but the actual factory is run with precision because you're working with very expensive materials. 23,000
Rand, that's what that orange baby would set me back. But perhaps let me come to you, Richard, and I understand that your speciality is really around the crocodile. Talk to us a little bit about what makes these products so exotic, and especially why they would command a 23,000 Rand price tag.
Well, the reason why crocodile is exotic, crocodile having been hunted extensively from the wild in the 50s and the 60s and driven to almost extinction because of the luxury of it, has been farmed since the 70s and is strictly controlled by CITES, and all farms are inspected on a regular basis. The demand for crocodile globally is growing exponentially, to the point where certain brands, international brands, are buying up the tanneries as well as the farms to secure the skins for their production. And in the case of crocodile, where ostrich bag will set you back 24,000 Rand, the minute it comes to crocodile, we're talking about double that price and more.
So you're saying that it's going to set me back almost 50,000 Rands for a bag?
And more, up to anything up to 100,000 Rand, yes.
Okay,
and that is still in comparison to international prices fetched in Bergdorf Goodman or Saks or anywhere in Hamburg or Munich. It is still a fraction of the price what you'd be paying over there.
Richard, I'm going to perhaps throw a curveball at Eileen from your comment that you've just made. If you just pass me one of these, Eileen, anything on the table, and I'm holding now a really beautiful pink purse. these would retail at approximately
around about the 2,800.
about
2,800.
2,800, 3,000. Oftentimes, one would actually find maybe one of these babies at 50 Rand at one of the robots here in South Africa. Talk to me about how the industry is ensuring that you can't get counterfeit goods of this nature. How are you ensuring that one is really able to make that distinction whether Nozip was carrying a 3,000 Rand or a 50 Rand wallet?
Well, that's the beauty of ostrich actually, because it's almost not copyable, the sheer nature of the skin. So the very knowledgeable, discerning buyer, when they come into our showroom, they look at the bag, they look at the quill. This is the quill that you see over here. Our bags, we're working standard quill, which means if you look at the whole bag, you can see the whole bag is taken up by quill and not the neck of the ostrich. So that in itself is expensive. So working in standards. If you had to see a counterfeit, we work in premium skins. So we source the best skins, the best hardware. We overseas all the time looking for the latest trends and designs. So I don't think that's our handwriting. When you see a Via Lamoda handbag,
you know it's a Via Lamoda
handbag.
Richard, let me perhaps also bring you in on another aspect of this conversation and another aspect to risk in particular. I mean, when we look at ostrich and we look at crocodile, and how does this interplay when it comes to maybe regulations that a country might decide to adopt or policies that have a restriction either on the use of those particular animals, or as I understand, ostrich can come under risk because of a flu epidemic or something of that nature. How do you build in these risks and how do you mitigate them from being a big vulnerable point for the business?
Well, the crocodiles that we use, and the only crocodiles that are allowed to be used are the ones that are strictly farmed. It is obviously in the interest of the farmer to have pristine conditions to breed their crocs, because the better the conditions are, the better chance that they'll get a first-grade skin. Accordingly, they'll fetch the right prices. These crocodiles are pampered as if they were in a 6-star hotel, and obviously also very, very strictly regulated by CITES and inspected as to the breeding practices and the holding practice of these crocs. And that alone makes it a sustainable product and can be used globally and made sure that the species survives.
Richard, I'm going to ask you to perhaps hold up one of the bags that you have with you, but I also want you to also talk to us about African demand. I understand that a lot of demand comes from developing economies, but especially in Asia. How does Africa fare in comparison?
Well, I think Africa being one of the emerging markets, being on the African continent, this is, for instance, a crocodile handbag that we do at Cape Cobra, is growing rapidly to the point that our brand is now being launched in Nigeria in November. The official launch is in November, and the market is growing. The next target market would be Angola or Ghana. There's a lot of money in Africa. There's a lot of development going into Africa, and I think the new markets are the African markets and the Asian markets, whereas I think the international brands are saturated in the US as well as Europe, and I think Africa is definitely the future for the discerning purchase of African ostrich and African crocodile products.
Eileen, let's come back and look at some of the innovations in the industry. How are you ensuring that the product offering is even more tailored and bespoke to individual needs? Are you finding that there's more input from consumers into the design process and the like?
There is, and it's a growing market. We have obviously a lot of international interest. We do make for international brands as well, under disclosure. So we're working at the international level. On the consumer side, we offer so much. And I'm just going to mention our showroom, which is, and I'll be bold to say that it is probably one of the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere, showcasing exotics. And along with that, we bring in numerous Italian brands, which is showcased in our showroom down the road in Johannesburg. So
Richard spoke about some hotspots on the African continent in terms of countries that are really geared to take off even further with luxury goods, and he mentioned Angola and Ghana. Is this the same for you, or are there any surprises from your end?
No, absolutely, and we welcome opportunities. He's absolutely 100% correct.
And how does South Africa fare? I mean, I would assume that South Africa might be a step ahead in terms of demand, but is that demand being sustained in the South African context?
Yes, it's a small market once again, and we are a gateway to the international market, and specifically, of course, the Nigeria market is a growing market with Angola, but we do make for the international market. I might just mention, I mean, when Charlize Theron came out to win her Oscars, as you know, the celebrities select who they're going to take the gifts from, and we actually designed a beautiful fuchsia pink like this, and Hans Peter and I presented it to her at the Westcliff. So that will tell you the standard at what we...
Very quickly, before I let you go, Richard, let's come back. I mean, one of the interesting things for me is that we're seeing an almost a surge of the luxury goods market. This is despite the fact that 2008 has just been around the corner, with the world being in the midst of an economic crisis. Some regions, in especially Western Europe, still sort of coming out of their own crises. Can you just give us a very broad overview as to why we're seeing demand intensify irrespective of economic conditions?
Well, I think that anybody that purchases or has the ability to purchase purely luxury products like ostrich products, or even more so on the Crocodile side, they are really the top 10-15% of global earners, and accordingly, if the markets crash, they still have income or money is enough to be able to afford that, and to really keep their status that they're used to, and that they need to represent amongst their fellow colleagues.
Thank you, Richard, and of course thank you, Eileen, for making the time and for bringing these goodies. It is a pity that we can't keep one of them for the anchor of the show, but nonetheless a very interesting conversation looking at the leather industry.